All right. So, just a quick overview of where we are because it's always good to locate ourselves. Today, we are on the third and last lesson of Module 2, Social Emotional Learning. What does it mean? Okay, so we had 2 lessons in Module 1, 3 lessons in Module 2, and then we're going to have 1 lesson here. And I can't remember about 4 and 5. It's 2 and 1 or 1 and 2, but all I don't know. And so, what's behind the behavior part 2? This is where we are today. Something that we learned last week is that the mistaken cause behind the behavior, they tell us that that child is discouraged. So that child is not intrinsically encouraged to behave well, to relate well to other human beings. Okay, so this is something really important. It's a big fundamental for the positive discipline approach, that there are goals behind all kind of behavior. Children and teens and adults, people, let's say people, do not behave randomly. They behave with an intention, with a goal behind the attitudes. And according to the positive discipline approach, what we call mischief or misbehavior in school are actually mistaken goals. So the goal behind the behavior is there, but it's mistaken, it's not being expressed appropriately. Okay? Another quote about last week, just to warm up, is that the unconscious intent behind a child's behavior is to make the adult and or the peers to react. This is a very important motto of a child's mind, to make the adult and or the peers react, to cause a reaction. It is a search, so ultimately it is a search for belongingness and importance. As we saw there on the first class about the positive discipline approach, sorry, girls, about the positive discipline approach, that the relationship, the behavior inside the relationships, they work towards this sense of belonging and importance, right? And then last week we started seeing the big behavior iceberg, that when we see in a classroom a child that is punching, another one that is yelling, the other one is interrupting, another one that does not handling any tasks, this is just the top of the iceberg. We are seeing just a little bit. We have no idea what's coming after that. We have no idea how big the trouble can be. So how big that those feelings can be. All right, and that took us to Rudolf Draker's intrinsic motivators of behavior. Okay, so last week we talked about undue attention and misguided power. And today we are going to talk about revenge and assumed inadequacy. Okay, so we talked about undue attention and misguided power, and we are going to see 2 more intrinsic motivators, uh, behavior responses. Okay. And we are also connecting this iceberg, which is part of the positive discipline theory, to Dr. Betty Lou Batner's theory, the 4 C's that encourage people to relate to one another. So the 4 C's that will promote a healthy social and emotional interaction, a healthy social and emotional learning, on especially on the long run, if we are saying social and emotional learning. But those 4 C's that should be actually that must be nurtured in every lesson, so our students can become not only proficient in a language or in arts, music, and your tasks, but also in living in a society, living as part of a community, active member of a community. So the four C's are connect, courage, capable, and count. And we are seeing each one of them inside those icebergs, okay? And again, those will work together to help us feel sense of significance and belonging, okay? So that was just a warm up. Now we are getting to new things, okay? We are going to do this strategy that I did with you in another lesson called I used to think and now I think, okay? So you need to get a notebook and you will get a page and split it in half. And at once with a line, and then in one side you will write I used to think, and at the other side now I think. Okay? And we will watch a video, an interview with Dr. Jay Nelson, the author of the Positive Discipline books for teachers. Okay? But before we watch the video, I want you to write on the I used to think column. What do you think? What do you think right now about adult-child interactions? Or what do you see in your school? What do you see in your workplace? Okay, so I'll give you like 2 minutes to jot down some ideas, and then we are going to carry on.
Is it more like about us or about other teachers?
It's up to you. If you want to talk about other teachers, that's okay too. It's going
Okay.
to enrich the discussion afterwards, so that's okay. As soon as you're ready, let me know so we can start watching her interview. So in the revenge, when we talk about the revenge misguided goal, our feelings can get all mixed up, and it can get really hard to deal with that child, to talk, and sometimes we feel unsupported. But the child's goal, according to the positive discipline approach, is to get even. So he is feeling strong and big feelings inside his heart, and he wants you, the adult, or the peers, the other kids, to have that same big feeling on their hearts too. Okay? What's the adult or the peer feeling? So, how do we usually feel? Disappointed, disbelieving. Sometimes we might feel even disgust. It's not a child that you are going to um, be around all the time. It's not going to be a pleasant moment to be together, and those feelings will not benefit the fixing of this behavior cycle. Okay, a reaction tendency if this adult is not following the positive discipline approach would be retaliating, getting even, or taking it completely personally and thinking, how could you do this to me? Okay, taking everything personally and feeling really upset and discouraged and retaliating sometimes through grades. So when you are grading a paper, I will give that grade because it's that student that told me the other thing the other day. Or I might tolerate 5 more minutes if a student is late. That if it's that student who's late, then I tolerate. But if it's that one, then I won't tolerate. I'll send to the headmaster or something. So retaliating by reinforcing the teacher power and consequently getting far and far and far away from the child. After that reaction from the adult, what usually happens from the child is that the child also retaliates, and it becomes like a never-ending power struggle. The child will hurt others, will damage property to get even, will intensify the behavior, or choose another weapon, another way of hurting, another way of disrupting the, the classes and the relationships, the playtime intentionally. What's the belief behind the behavior? And this is the blue arrow, and this blue one is where the difference between the positive discipline educators and other educators will start. Because over here, when you look at a child and you can understand, you are able to understand that the coded message behind that behavior is I don't think I belong, so I'll hurt others as I feel hurt. I can't be liked or loved. Then it's time to take a proactive action, okay? So, some traditional contributions that teachers that are with good intentions but are not thinking about developing the social and emotional skills. They might give some advice without actually listening because they think they are helping. And I expect you to know why I focus more on your grades than I focus you on a person because I focus more on your flaws than on what you are saying. So those approaches won't lead to social and emotional learning. They might remedy the situation at that very moment, but they do not develop any skill. When we code the message, when we break the code, we are able, as positive discipline educators, to take a proactive and empowering attitude. So, to provide this child with a proactive and empowering response. The coded message, as I told you, is I'm hurting. Validate my feelings. The crucial C for this type of behavior is count. This child wants to feel that he counts, that he exists, that he is there for a reason, okay? Some empowering responses, some practical attitudes could include to build trust, to use reflective listening, to share your own feelings, to apologize when you need to apologize as a role model for when that child needs to apologize. Make amends, get close, break the walls, okay? Show you care, acknowledge hard feelings. Don't take the behavior personally. And here's a big, big highlight don't take it personally. Avoid punishment and retaliation. Act without talking too much. So, without those big, big teacher talks to solve the behavior, you act. So, if you know that that child is really interested in dinosaurs, for example, instead of trying to uh, give him or her like a big speech on how to be close to the teacher and how to respect the teacher, why don't you take a step and get some dinosaur books in the library so you two can read together during some time? So you act, you do not have to talk, but your attitudes are saying, I'm trying to build trust in here. I am trying to get closer. I am trying to understand you. Encourage the strengths. Remember that last week we watched that TED Talk, and then I sent you the article on Google Classroom that where there is a challenging behavior, there is also a skill. So no one is made of 100% challenging behavior. There are skills. There is a silver lining, okay? And put the kids in the same boat. And for example, we are all, I had that student that used to try to break classroom resources. And that was something that really worked with him to put all of them in the same boat. So this resource is for everybody. We use, for example, this box here and the things in it we use for maths, and everybody uses it. If you do not take care of it, we will need it and we won't have it. So everyone is responsible for not breaking, but everyone is also responsible for looking around if there's someone trying to breaking their resources. and help that friend understanding how important it is. And then it was a whole group effort to help him understand that he shouldn't damage the classroom resources. Okay? And any questions about the revenge misguided goal, girls? Any questions
Just
about it?
one thing.
Yes?
So the revenge would you say, like, for example, if a student's trying to revenge, like he's displaying his behaviors on me, is it possible that he's actually upset, like, with his parents, and then he not necessarily me, it,
Yes. Yes.
like he's upset with someone
It's
else, but then he just uses me as a punching bag kind of thing.
yeah, completely possible. So when
Okay.
you see the coded message, I am hurting, it could either be I'm hurting because you, teacher, hurt me, I'm hurting because my friends hurt me, or I'm hurting because someone at home, my family hurt me. But the thing is, I am really hurting. Validate my feelings. But yeah, it could be something brought from home, and maybe in a home context, there isn't room for revenge. So he takes the revenge misguided goal to school and displays another sort of behavior at home, for example, and due attention. Okay. And then he transfers it to school. That's why it's really important for us to be aware and sensitive to everything is going around, and most importantly, to crack the code behind the behavior so we understand what's going on. Okay, because understanding what's going on, we'll be able to open up some room for the development of the social and emotional skills. Okay,
And just one more question. How long would you say that it takes you to code the decode the message? Like, is it sometimes like right away, or sometimes it can take like days and weeks?
it depends on the child and depends on the teacher. If you've been working with positive discipline for many years, you already know the behavior chart that I put in Google Classroom. You already know that by heart. So when you see a behavior, you kind of already have one idea of what's going on there. But actually, I would say if I see a student every day, I would say it would take me like a week and a half. But if you see them like twice a week, if you don't see them every day, maybe 2 weeks, it would take 2 weeks or three for you to really understand what's going on. But if you do not have that time to wait 2 or 3 weeks, you can just talk to other teachers who teach the same child, so you can both brainstorm ideas of what's going on in other moments of the school day, not only your lessons. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
okay. All right, ladies. So let's take a quick break now. Now it's 8:12. So we can take a break until 8:22. And then we are going to carry on with the last misguided goal. Okay? So let's take a break. And I see you in 10 minutes. All right, ladies. Ready to All right, ladies. Ready to carry on? Yes. Giovanna had to leave. She just wrote me an email. She wasn't feeling well. She was feeling sick and she had to leave. Okay. So now, after the break, as I told you, we're going to talk about the fourth and the last misguided goal, which is assumed inadequacy. All right. As Dr. J. Nelson said on the video, and I really like that quote, that Dr. Rudolf Dreikers, when asked, how can you put all children in the whole world in those four boxes? He wouldn't say, I put them on those four categories, but I find them in there. Okay, so it's important that when we look at the misguided goals, and we see them as a way to find our students. And when we find our students and break their behavior code, we are better able to foster the appropriate social and emotional skills. All right? So that's the last one, assumed inadequacy. The child's goal is I want to give up and to be left alone. And when attitudes of your student tell you that I want to be left alone, you as a teacher might feel despair, you might feel hopeless, you might feel helpless. And some of the attitudes you might take is to give up, to do things for that poor little child that is feeling so lost and over helping, or even show a lack of faith. Like, okay, that student really cannot understand anything. Oh my God, I'm gonna make things super easy for her so she can catch up because actually she cannot follow anything. So I'm gonna do things for her. And their response when they see that behavior from the adult is to retreat, to show no improvement, no response, and even avoid trying. It's a very uncomfortable situation for the teacher when you see that your child or student is avoid even trying and is not giving any response. This is the moment where most educators will say a very famous teacher sentence like, I've already learned. If she does not want to learn, then that's okay because I've already been to school. I've already finished the school. So I learned what I had to learn. If she does not want to learn, that's it. That's where my task ends. Or even, you should be interested in your own learning. I shouldn't be interested in you. So if you show no response and you avoid trying, then you won't learn. In period. But the belief behind that behavior is that I don't believe I can belong. So I will convince others not to expect anything of me. I'm helpless and unable. It's no use trying because I won't do it right. Again, this is an unconscious behavior, all right? Some of the traditional adults' contribution include I expect you to live up to my high expectations, like this, or I thought it was my job to do things for you. Down there, so both extreme contributions. But as positive discipline educators, you are able now to crack the code to provide the child with a proactive and empowering response. The crucial C here is courage. That child needs courage to feel they belong, courage to express their feelings, courage to trust. And the coded message behind this behavior is don't give up on me. Show me a small step. Show me one small step. And there are several attitudes we can take to show that small step that will solidify social and emotional skills. Some of them can include break a task into small steps. So you had this exercise list with 20 questions to ask. João, don't give up. João, you can bring me next class 5 of the questions answered. Can you do that? Can you do 5 for this week? Okay. And when you start, I want you to start like this and this, and then you can even answer the first of the questions with the child just to model how they would need to do with the others, but show a small step. Where do I start from? You have the answer, you are the teacher. Give them this answer. How do I start? And show them how to start. One small step, not a super high and unrealistic expectation. Just one small step. And you make the task easier until the child experiences success. So, as a teacher, if you see it's necessary to make something a bit easier to differentiate your instruction, to differentiate the activities, it's okay. But at the first sign of success, so at the first lesson that you see that that child has experienced success, Then you carry on um, changing that task progressively so the child can experience success not only on very easy and facilitated tasks, but that child can see the progression of his own learning. Okay, so that includes the next one, which is set up opportunities for success. Take time for training, teach skills, and show how, but never do it for. Stop all the criticism, encourage any positive attempt, no matter how small. Show faith in the child's abilities. Don't pity, don't give up. Enjoy that child and build on his or her interests. Okay? And any questions about assumed inadequacy? No questions so far?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, girls, what we're gonna do now is a case discussion, okay, as we did last week. I brought here Joni, and she's a real girl. She was in my class once. I'll give you like 5 minutes to read the case, and you can get your notebook or notepad, take some ideas. What do you see in Joni's behavior that caught your eye? And what do you think the misguided goal is? What do you think the belief behind the behavior is? What would you do if you were her teacher? Okay, so I'll give you 5 minutes to read the case, write down some ideas, and then we're gonna share. Okay,